Hi everybody, this is Iftekhar Pathan. I am the co-founder of Meraklis Technologies, and today we have a special guest. So we have someone who is a royal, an entrepreneur, someone who is an author. She's running an NGO, a successful one for that matter, and doing an exemplary amount of work in these days. And I welcome my dear friend Laleh Busheri to the online summit. Welcome, Laleh.
Thank you, Iftekhar. Thank you so much for those wonderful, kind words. And I echo the same back for you.
Thanks, Sitan. Thank you very much. So, Laleh, today we just want to know a lot about yourself because most of us think we know you, but we really want to know a bit of your background, what do you like, what do you do, and then we will start with the Prashanti journey. But before that, just a little about yourself, please.
Sure. I originally come from Bombay. So born and brought up in Bombay, educated in Bombay in the convent, and then went on to do my law and did my master's in law. Worked for a short stint at Mullah and Mullah too. And I think my mom was very strict. So we always used to go to charity homes to kind of help. Even my school in the convent, every Thursday afternoon was sent to teach children in the, unaffording backgrounds. We went to a back garden school and we taught children. And it was very particular that we had to go to the old age homes. We had to go to the orphanage to help regularly on a Sunday. So I think that background comes from there. And my hobbies were I've done Bharatanatyam for 10 years, speak quite a few languages. And my family originally hails from Iran. And we came in the late 1800s to India. And anything else that you want to know about my background, I could share with you.
So what I want to know is obviously you've had a very different upbringing in the sense that CSR and all these things that we talk about today are new words. But before the words were there, I think you were instilled with the right values and your family, did all this. So where did they get it from? I mean, were they always like this or?
Yeah, they were always like this. In fact, I remember my grandmom's house, which was Woodlands Hotel in Pune. On the weekends, we used to come. And Thursdays and Fridays was an open house. And there was a stream of beggars and people who were widows and ladies who couldn't look after their children who used to come. It was like an open house in the mornings. And nobody went empty-handed. Somebody's school fees were paid. Somebody was given money. Somebody was given ration for the month. And I grew up in a family where it was always about giving. And givers are givers, and givers can never be takers. And the whole purpose of being is to help somebody else, and it's always to give, and give. And that's where we kind of grew up in that kind of an environment at home, to be able to give back to society. So I think that's where it came from.
Fantastic. So that is the good work that you're doing. Somewhere it is a part of your DNA. That's how you were brought up by your parents, luckily. And then you've been doing a lot of work for the downtrodden, for the people who need you. So when did this journey of Prashanti really start? How was it conceptualized, and what was your vision initially? What have been the experiences and important milestones? And what is the learning basically that the NGOs and social sector should take from your story?
Okay. So originally Prashanti was started by my husband, Dr. Kopikar, way back in 2000. It was registered and was started by him, by Tanuja, Kajol's mother, Jagjit Singh, and a few other social workers and few other patients who got together to form an organization where they could help unaffording cancer patients. So it would be right for me to say that it was born out of the unfulfilled desires of unaffording cancer patients, doctors, physicians, clinicians, who got together to put out a platform where unaffording patients would come and get free treatment. They did a lot of work in and around Pune, and then I got involved over a decade ago. And when I got involved over a decade ago, I realized the need, coming in contact with patients and with Anand, not only that we needed to help cancer patients for free strips of cancer treatment, surgeries, or chemotherapy, but I also realized that there was no dedicated breast cancer center in India. And breast cancer being the largest cancer in the country, every year we have, over 1 lakh new patients of cancer, 1,62,000 new cancer patients in the country. It's the largest segment. There was no dedicated breast cancer center in the city where a woman could go, and a gold standard of treatment, either for diagnostics or for treatment or for post-care. and a holistic care, counseling, nutrition, everything would be taken care of. So we got down to actually start Orchid's Breast Health, where any patient who can't afford, who's very poor, who can come, and the most well-to-do can come. They all are treated the same. They all go on the same state-of-the-art machines. They all get the same doctors. They all get the same treatment, and everyone gets the gold standard of treatment. That's where Orchids was basically born. And I'd be proud to say that I think it's the only standalone breast cancer center in the entire country who has a gold standard of treatment, not only from the machines, Iftekhar, but we have plasty, we have reconstruction, which practically no one has everything today. And even the poorest of woman walks in and she has it free. The most well-to-do can come in, it's completely concessionalized, and whatever they pay, that money goes every day to Prashanti bank account. And with that, more and more cancer patients every day are treated. And that's how Prashanti actually grew to become Orchids. And now, of course, we have a full dedicated chemotherapy room over there where patients take chemo only for about 3 or 4 hours and they go home. They don't have to stay even for the entire day. We have an in-house pharmacy from where I give free deliveries to cancer patients for medicines. We have all the diagnostics. We have amazing sponsors from Anand Deshpande from Persistent, who has given us space, to Bajaj's, Rajiv Bajaj, who has given us lots of donations to buy equipment to run our research foundations, and many, many individual donors like Desai Brothers, Ranna Desai, and many others who basically have been able to help us sustain through our complete, all whatever we do. So basically it runs on donations, completely on donations, and that's how we work it. And Anand doesn't take anything home in the evening, so everything gets plowed back from his clinic into Prashanti, and that's how we're able to take care of thousands of patients every single year free. And we've also, I should be proud to say that a lot of firsts have happened in Prashanti. We have put up the first hereditary breast cancer clinic in the city. So everyone knows that hereditary breast cancer and ovarian cancer testing has now become a mainstream for breast cancer management. And I think we established in 2017, where we are probably the only genetic clinic in India that works in tandem with breast cancer and oncology surgeons to reduce the risk of surgeries for BRCA positive and high-risk patients in our city. Also, we have a huge research center now, which has been donated by Bajaj's, and it's the 4th year that it's running. And a lot of transnational research work is taking place over there. Various topics of breast cancer research include epidemiology, community health, novel breast cancer imaging techniques, genetics, molecular biology, and many, many much more community research, community screening. Everything takes place through this thing. And one of the major interventions that we have in cancer is in material science, which implants designs for breast cancer implants for breast oncoplastic surgery, which is a major research theme of our research center. And also, Iftekhar, we have a huge screening program. So we have buses and we go out into the community. So we screen from the police to the PMC to the mental asylum to you name it, wherever we are called in all the busties. We go and do a massive screening for breast cancer. And when we pick up anybody with a lump, we bring her back to the clinic and her entire treatment is free. So that's how we take care of as much as we can in the community over the years. This is basically the tip of the iceberg of what we're doing,
Yeah, you rightly said it's just the tip of the iceberg, Laleh. So it's really very amazing. So if you look at it in a perspective, like for example, if I was to be an NGO and I look at what Prashanti or Orchid Health is doing, there are so many different things, and I mean, you need different types of, a set of strengths, or you need skills. So you have ideated, you have strategized, the operations has to go well. You have, I see, a plug-in as far as the academics is concerned. Then you do something which I call thought leadership. You've been on the edge, you're trying to do a lot of new things there. And you also are creating a buzz. You have the right people involved, and you're using the social media, the marketing, the direct media, and below the line activities. So this is not easy feat. It's not something which everyone can do. And I would really like to know, how do you manage this? Do you have an organized way of doing this? Have you set out doing that, or as you went, it kept happening? How do you do this?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of organization into it. I enjoy multitasking to start with. And I think I work like a donkey. I work 17, 18 hours a day. Yeah. And now we have verticals at the clinic. We have the clinic, we have the translational research, we have the genetic thing. We have different verticals. And under each vertical, I made sure there's a head, and then they have their own teams. So the head of the teams, and we sit in for meetings and kind of give directions of what we want for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and then take an overall to see if everything is going well. I also feel that when I decide I want to do a particular thing, from the day I decide it to the day I visualize the day when I want it over. And I definitely put out a planned stepwise program to finish that thing. I am not kind to people who are with me who are just fluid and they do not have a plan and they do not have an end to it. I need a definite plan. I need definite dates. Like when my clinic staff tells me they're putting out some research papers, it's not okay for me. I need a date when it's going to get over. And I want a weekly meeting where I want to know how much is over and how much is not over and why is it not over. And where can I help you, where I can help you finish the whole thing. So I think a definite plan is very, very important for me. And I think what has really helped me, where I could give advice, is that I work with blinkers. So once I decide I want to do a certain, I'm not looking left or right. I'm just focused with blinkers till that thing is over, close it, move to the next. And that's how I did. Just to go back to you, I realized seeing so many cancer patients over the years, and every single patient was disturbed. And she would be so disturbed that she just thought it's the end of the world, although it was stage 1 and, it's completely curable today, breast cancer. And even at the later stage, it's very controllable. But to be counseling a patient every day and putting that thing in perspective, I thought I'd put out a book which gave examples of very young girls to much older, mature women who've had breast cancer and different stages, to be able to put out their stories, to be able to give an example to the younger girls who come up with breast cancers. So I decided to put that book out, and I put a frame of that. That book is going to be done in 3 months, and I made sure. And also during the lockdown, I decided I want to write a book on genetic cancers, because nobody now really knows what's the genetic cancer, whether you may be having a genetic cancer. Do you need to test? Do you need to test? And how many family members of yours have genetic cancer? Are you eligible? What is your family history tree? What will the genetic counselor tell you? What will the genetic test tell you? So nobody knows all that. So I decided to put that book out. And I think in the first month of the lockdown, I have finished my book. So that is what I plan always with a particular thing. I decide and I put a time frame, and I try to complete everything in that time frame. And that's the way I kind of like to work, And I think it works very well, because then you close things and you go to the next, and you close things and you go to the next.
Absolutely. So there is a plan with all the frenzy that we see on the front and great things happening. There is a plan.
Absolute plan, very specific plan. And all the time, the staff, I think, are not scared of Anand, but they're scared of me. Because he goes with the flow, and it's okay, he let things go. But I'm a hard taskmaster. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so that's what. So, for example, if you have to run something like the scale that you are running, you definitely need to have a plan in place. Absolutely. And you need to have a short-term and a long-term plan, and you plan for probably the whole year.
Yeah, we ran a Tata project for screening. With the Tata project funded us for 2 years initially, and now that thing has continued by us ourselves and other donors. From the morning that the bus drivers went into the community at 6 o'clock, I used to be available to see that it's gone okay. They've screened. How many have they screened? How many have come positive for cancer? How many have come for benign lesions? How many are coming back to the clinic? Who's been taken care of? So there's a complete plan and there's a flow.
Yeah, and there is also a very hands-on approach. You like to be there and drive the whole thing.
I believe that you have to be hands-on to be able to know, and for you to guide your staff, and for them to also know that, that's how it should be, that they are also hands-on then with their junior staff, and that's how it follows,
Yeah. So it's the learning that the NGOs and the social sector people should take, that they have to work like a corporate. They have to deliver, and there has to be a system in place, there has to be a plan in place, and you have to be hands-on. That's what I hear from you, Laleh. And the other thing, and
the other thing also I'm very particular about, I prefer one staff who's thorough and who's really up to the mark than having 5 staff in that salary who's not up to the mark. So that for me is very important.
Yes, so the right person for that job, and who has a commitment to task, and who's responsible and can take the onus of doing things.
Sorry. I've gone off here. Anand? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
So the other thing, what I was thinking is like there are a lot of challenges that the NGOs are facing today.
Right.
Everyone, wherever I attend a conference or talk to people, the biggest problem they have the will and the vision to do things and work on the ground and do their best. But funds have always been a big problem for them. And then comes strategy and execution. So can you talk a little about fundraising? How do you do that? And how do you be seen?
Okay, so I think the fundraising is the most important part of an NGO to sustain and to continue the kind of work that you're doing. So for me, with Prashanti, I have made sure that fundraising is in various levels. Okay. So we have large corporates whom we go to, who we ask them for CSR for larger projects like a full research or equipment that we need, which is expensive. And to be able to get it a second year and a third year, we make sure that we give them a follow back. So if they have given us funds for treating cancer patients, we make sure they get a project with how many cancer patients were treated, with every detail, with the patient's profile, how they are doing, kind of a follow-up. Sure. If a machine has been invested with us, or they have donated a machine, every quarter we send back a thing that how many patients were tested on the machine, how many were free, how many were partially free, and how many cancers we picked up, how many were operated, how many went through what treatment. So they get kind of a follow back. Then very, very important for me is crowdfunding, which I have been doing. Just to give a small example, last year I did crowdfunding from people whom I know personally for around 5,000 patients. I mean, 5,000 people in the community. Okay. And from someone donating 5 rupees or 500 rupees to people donated in lakhs. And we were able to get a massive surplus. And I think that kind of a kitty that we were able to get is going to be able to help me in the next year or two, where the crowdfunding or any kind of funding is going to be compromised because of COVID. And, the CSR is much less coming in from this coming year. And also people who have CSR are trying to give it out for COVID funding or to fund people who've gone back to their villages who need help, jobs, whatever. So this kind of kitty has kind of helped me and Prashanti, I think, to overtide also the crunch that we are going to see and all NGOs are going to see in this year onwards.
Absolutely. So Laleh, this is what we are doing at Meraklis as well. We're trying to create a software platform in which we get the corporates on one side, and the other side we get the NGOs like yourself who are doing exemplary work. So they're seen, and then the corporates in turn get a curated project to work on. And like you said, very important to give them a transparency till the last mile, So what has happened in every dollar or every rupee spent, they know that it's being used for the right cause. So, so what is, the other thing is, like, from the time they started this 2013, it was mandated under the Indian law. We became one of the first countries to sort of mandate that a certain percentage has to be spent for CSR. So year on year, it was roughly about 12,000 crores that was spent, except for 2019 was bad, but 2020 is even worse. And then whatever funds are available, they're all going to go to COVID. So what happens to the smaller NGOs? What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts for the smaller NGOs is, number one, I think they need to prioritize. They need to prioritize very, very carefully at what is making an impact in the community and what projects they need to take right now or continue for a year or 2 or 3, and what projects need to go on the back burner that are not really making an impact or helping the community. So they can cut back costs. And maybe also, if they're not able to sustain the staff, maybe they could ask some of the staff to come half day, so they don't lose staff and people are not losing their jobs. At the same time, they're asking people to come in half day. So they are also being taken care of financially, both ways. It will work kind of both ways. Also, I feel that they need to have a focused plan, and they need to put a plan out for maybe 2 or 3 years from today, which is completely focused among the budget that they have already existing, and maybe a budget which is a very bare budget, which they can probably acquire over the next 2 or 3 years. And maybe a crowdfunding is a good idea from people whom they know, where people don't mind giving very, very small amounts, but the database is very huge and can sustain them for their basic costs. So that's how I think would be the first step to go in for NGOs, because there is going to be a huge pressure to downsize, and there's going to be a huge kind of a cap on funding for the next 2 years, at least for a year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I have some figures, and it says about 23% NGO have NGOs have let go 23% of their employees recently. So the axe is going to fall on them, and we need to plan. So has Prashanti thought of this, and have you tweaked your own style post-COVID?
So we have not cut down the salaries of any of the staff last 3 years, giving them full salaries, and we haven't had anyone go off yet. And I think a year ago, I decided that, I have been working so hard for funding and every other thing that I decided that it's over 10 years and I want some kind of respite for myself. So I was looking at the crowdfunding, which would help me tide over, the shortfalls. And I think that crowdfunding have really given us a huge kitty. And I think that's going to help us for the next 2 years. In our case, in Prashanti's case, I think that has been the cushioning for us.
Yeah,
that has been our cushioning.
Fantastic. So
and of course, the other way I'm going to also where I plan to cut back is we have a huge program going on from the community where our staff and our nurses and our social workers and all go into the community and they help do the checkups. And when we pick up a cancer patient or a benign or a cancer lesion, we bring them back to take care of their treatment. Now I have to look after the staff also, so I cannot expose them to the busties. So for the next 6 months, I'm not going to be able to send my staff to the busties to do screening. So I'm going to, in fact, give them some other jobs in the clinic where they can take care of other stuff so that they don't lose their jobs. At the same time, we'll have to find a plan where we can ask in different corporates in different areas and cooperators in different areas to send their staff whom they feel have a lump, have something for 10, 12 people every day to get tested in the clinic. So we have to make sure that we don't work in that sense in the community.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. So there is one part is the NGOs and the other are the social entrepreneurs. So in the scheme of things that you are doing, what do you think are the opportunities? With the pandemic around and also, like we had issues with ventilators and testing kits and PPE kits, and we spoke a couple of times about the paucity of all these material. So what are the opportunities apart from this for social entrepreneurs?
I think anybody and everybody now I know is definitely is either making masks or making PPEs. I mean, I get like 30 or 40 messages a day. I get so many emails and I'm absolutely confused myself because each one says I'm the best. You know what I mean? So that is most people have gone into. And I think the opportunity also would be for NGOs is not in cities like Pune, but other cities, migrant workers that have basically gone. They probably need jobs. So maybe something could be started for them and their children basically need to be educated. So maybe NGOs could be set up where those people can get some kind of skill development. And also they can be trained for some other jobs in their villages if they're not able to come back and the children don't lose out, and some kind of organizations could be formed where the children get educated. So I think that would be the need of the hour, and to be able to create some jobs for them, whether it's kind of skilling, skilled labor, and some kind of NGOs where even if they're making masks, but you can have some sewing machines bought and they can employ those people and different things. There are many things you can do if you really want to do something, and you can make sure that these people get some kind of employment and their children get some education, that these years to come, the next generation is not without skills. So that is probably one thing where today.
Sure. And what do you think is, how does tech basically help as far as the social side that things are concerned? For example, a telemedicine setup or reaching out or awareness campaigns and stuff like that. That's what I mean.
So I think the way to go is technology based. So even today, initially when we were not open, the clinic was not open. Through telemedicine, we were reaching out to all our patients. The patients were sending reports, they were sending their photographs, they were sending whatever they needed to do, and communication was happening to telemedication, and we were consulting and we were letting them know what to do. At the same time, I think because of technology, we, even in Prashanti, and I'm sure many other NGOs have been able to reach out to so many people we don't know what work we do. You sensitize them, there's visibility. People get back to you, people are aware of what you're doing, and they're able to help or fund you in so many other ways, or shoulder to shoulder. I've in Prashanti's scope of things, I could say that, when we started doing these camps, we put them out on social media. And through that, I got calls from so many people. I have a basti near my house. I'm running the Rotary. I'm head of the inner wheel. Can we have a camp here? Can we have a camp here? Can you check these people? Can you take care of these people? There's a cancer patient in my, in my maid. There's a cancer patient in my basti. Can you help? And we've been able to help so many of these people through technology, basically. I think it's a very, very powerful tool and a very powerful medium, because you're not able to be everywhere. And there are so many people nowadays. The population is so much. How do you reach out to them? And I think that's one of the most wonderful ways to reach out to people and to get funding more, so that people know what you're doing. Sensitive people. Yeah,
so the smaller NGOs and entrepreneurs, the social entrepreneurs should look at getting more tech for good. Absolutely. And the NGOs should use technology for their advantage, so Absolutely. That they, reach out. So the other thing I've noticed in the Prashanti journey, that you have a lot of this, you're doing something with ICER, and you have a lot of the academia working partners, and then you've also presented a lot of papers outside. So what is the Holy Grail there? What does it get you?
So we have tied up with ICER for sure, and ICER is one of our partners because they have the labs, we have the data, we have all the blocks, we have everything with the patients, and they have the labs. We tied up with ICER, and we're doing a lot of research with ICER for breast cancer, for triple-negative cancer, and many other subtypes of breast cancer. And we've also tied up with Persistent for technology, because Persistent Systems is one of our partners, and we have tied up with them, and we are doing a lot of work with them too.
Fantastic. So this is the ecosystem that you have built, where you have the industry, and you have the tech, and then you have the education, and that you're using for aggrandizement, or your to reach your good work to maximum amount of patients. That's what essentially you're doing. We have a question. Someone is asking Dr. Samraj, Edison Samraj. So he's saying that, do you have a proton therapy in your institute?
No, we don't have a proton therapy in our institute, because we are not a hospital. We are a clinic.
Okay, you're a clinic. Okay. No worries. Thanks. Yes. So you were going to say something on the industry partnerships that I was.
Yeah, I was. It skipped. It'll come back. I'll tell you. It was something to do with. Yeah, it'll come back.
No worries. So what is your? I mean, you being a woman entrepreneur or socialpreneur, whatever you'd like to call it, have you had any issues there being a woman?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think so. Maybe I'm quite firm myself when it comes down to, so I won't, so I don't think so. No issues at all. And maybe I work more in a women-dominated area also. So, it's more breast cancer and more women-dominated area. Yeah, the other thing I was thinking of was telling you, Iftekhar, that we do a lot of holistic. So we work a lot with Ayurveda. We work with the homeopathy. We have yoga. We have all the holistic.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful.
So it's not just the allopathy, So there's a breast cancer, which is a benign breast cancer called granulomatous. It presents very much like breast cancer or like TB, but actually it's kind of a breast cancer disease. And only homeopathy cures it.
So wonderful. So there's always a question of how does the holistic medicine work, especially as far as cancer is concerned. So what is your experience been?
I think medicine has to be holistic. It cannot just be on one path. It cannot be. So you need the counseling, you need exercise where you need yoga maybe, or any other exercise. You need homeopathy very often. Ayurvedic or allopathy does not work. It's only some other branches of medicine. So it has to be a holistic form. You have to take care of the mind, the body, the soul, the medicines, everything together. At the end, the human being has to heal from all different parts. And then is the healing. So we have counselors, we have genetic counselors, we have regular counselors. In fact, many of our cancer patients in the daycare come every day to counsel the new cancer patients, because they've gone through a different journey. And they are able to handhold the cancer patients through the bewildering maze of challenges this disease is bringing to its wake. And they are able to counsel those cancer patients because they have gone through it. And sometimes a counselor telling the cancer patients everything is going to be okay or whatever, sometimes does not help as much as a person who's gone through the whole journey. And
I'm sure because of the mental health issues and the scare that the whole Big C has, I think that is a separate area that you really need to, you guys work on, basically. Yeah.
It's a very big issue, because very often we have girls who call up very late at night also, and they're very disturbed. They have all kinds of thoughts. They don't want to continue living. And it's not only me, but we have a very, very large support group. I have over 5,000 girls in the support group, and most of them are cancer patients who've been with us. And they just take over. They just take over the girl who is distraught. We make sure that every day 5, 6 of the girls are calling her up, hand holding her right through the day, right through the hours of the morning, till she comes out of this phase and she's not going to be thinking of ending her life. So we've been going through that kind of mental anguish with many patients for a long time. And that hand holding is there on a regular basis with us. And for that, I created a support group called the Pink Ribbon Support Group. We have multiple WhatsApp groups with batches of so many patients. And the moment a new patient comes in, Iftekhar, we put her onto the support group. And she gets a family overnight. So
wonderful.
She's staying somewhere and her kid needs to go to school while her chemo is going on. These support group people from that area will take her kid to school, take the kid for a movie. You'll bring food to her house for the first 20, 25 days that she's going through treatment. They'll come to the hospital and sit with her. It's amazing what the support group does and what support groups can do in different fields for different NGOs. Because that is your biggest strength, actually, your support group.
Wonderful. But to influence so many people and to do such work which has huge impact and to do financial inclusion, all this at the same time, I feel really happy, and you make Pune proud. And Meraklis would like to do whatever it can to sort of help you, because I told you about the platform. I'm sure you should quickly come on board, because there are a lot of larger NGOs who would want to look at the work that you're doing and support it as well.
So again, just going back for a second, it's again to be organized. Like in the support group also, once I know a patient needs some help, I put it out on the support group. I personally make calls to a few of the older patients, and then we monitor their handheld for many days, and we check on their progress. So I think that's a little bit of effort and dedication, but it goes a long way towards changing lives. So that's what happens,
Wonderful. Many congratulations on creating this support group, because that is something which is extremely key as far as the treatment is concerned.
The moment, say, in the Kalyani Nagar area, a new patient comes, the 40, 50 patients of that area just come together and just come round her. They call her up, they send her food, they take her child out for a movie. They do unbelievable things for that patient. And she's not left alone. Because, at the end of the day, the family can only do so much. And they are caregivers. They get also burnt out. And sometimes you as a patient don't listen to your family. You can take out all your anger and frustration on them, but you listen to an outside and it comes to help.
Fantastic. So are we working, Prashanti is working at this point of time only in Maharashtra state, or do you have any plans to?
No, we did some work in Ratnagiri also. For a while, Anand set up the breast cancer unit over there. And we worked there for about 3 years, but mostly in Maharashtra, because it's not easy to manage outside.
I can imagine. And how do you and Anand work together? That is something that we'd like to know as well.
Anand is a workaholic, as everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
And I always tease him and I tell him that he made me a workaholic. So now we're workaholics. So it works very well.
A good way of saying it.
Yeah. So it works well. It works well. Yeah. Both are workaholics now.
Fantastic. That's very nice. But do you have roles that are sort of you looking up strategy?
Absolutely. Anand is completely focused on the patient care. So it's more about the patient treatment, the surgeries, and the protocols entirely for the patient. And his last word with the clinic and everything, that's his last word. And I basically look after the community and the unaffording cancer patients and their treatment and the other parts of so many other verticals. So I take care of the social aspect.
Sure. We have another person. Her name is Sister Kurian, founder director of Meher Ashram in India.
Yes, of course. I know her well.
You know her well.
Yes, I know her well.
So she is asking you, what would you like to tell the youth about social issues?
Very good question, sister. I think the biggest problem today is that the youth don't give back. If I could say so, I think the youth in a way, our next generation has become selfish. And they only think of themselves. It's become a very materialistic society. So I feel you should be thinking of others. They should give back, and it's compulsory. I feel in schools and colleges for a couple of hours, children to be able to go to an orphanage or to go to an old age home or somewhere to give back. I think giving back is the key, because unless you don't give back at a very early age and you learn that how privileged you are and how grateful you should be to the Almighty for all that you have, and always below you that there's so much other people don't have and you have, there's no reason to complain. I always feel if you have a roof over your head and dal chawal on the table and your health is okay, everything else is a bonus.
Fantastic. That's very nice.
Thank you, Iftekhar. Thank you so much for those wonderful, kind words. And I echo the same back for you.